Invictus, my kings, and welcome back to Total War Shogun 2 Total Fall of the Samurai Prussia playthrough. And we open on the siege of Kuki and that, or Kai, not Kuki, Kai. And there we go, another province capture. But I think I'm actually going to sue for peace with the Americans here for a little bit, because I need to sort of regroup. I need to regroup our strength, and I need to basically rearrange my armies a tiny whiny bit. Let's go. Okay, so just peace, no demands. Okay. So we are having some peace agreements, and let's actually go for a little bit of trade. Request trade agreement.
Sometimes
Unacceptable. Very sad. Very sad that is. Why would it be unacceptable? Request trade with the British. There we go. The British and the Prussians always big friends. Indifferent, net neutral. Request trade unacceptable. Very sad. Well, everybody is a little hostile towards us, so maybe the Dutch. Yes, the Dutch. There we go. We have some trade agreements now. So I will just reestablish my armies a little bit, secure different fronts of attack, so then when we go back to war with the Americans, we have a little bit of a consolidated front, so it isn't just two armies marching around capturing territories. Actually a significant push from east to west, so we can mop up everyone, hoover up anybody that might stand a chance against us, and we will dominate that way. Alright, never mind, the Americans broke the peace agreement, they declared war, and now they are sieging the province of Kai, which we just took from them. So let's have a battle. Why not? Let's have a battle. They have a bunch of cavalry, so this is going to be an interesting fight for sure. But let's go to the battlefield and see who's better. Alright, here we are on the battlefield. So, same old tactics. Straight line, cavalry on the flanks, general behind, and let's see who actually wins this one, since they have so much cavalry, and I think they're actually advancing. Yes, they are advancing towards us, so let's let them have their little charge, which I assume is going to be very epic. But in the meantime, they have some foot infantry, colonial foot infantry, some volunteer infantry. This guy looks very interesting. Colonial infantry, just standard line infantry, really. They do have some standard foot infantry here, however.
That's what I want.
Which looks pretty cool, All of the units in the Total Fall of the Samurai mode look very cool. Our units look obviously mighty Prussian. Obviously, colonial infantry, they looks wonderful. But let's wait for the enemy. Let's let them have their little charge. All right, here we go. The enemy cavalry is about to enter our range, and not quite the bloodbath I would hope that it was. But let's just form a bunch of square formations. Since they are attacking us with a whole bunch of cavalry, we just form squares, why not? Use this cavalry regiment as a protection against any sort of strike against our general. And they seem to be mostly focusing on this flank over here, our right flank. But let's see how they actually manage to do. Bit of a martial nade charge here going on, with some massive massed cavalry charge to serve. Meanwhile, our main lines have engaged in battle, but here comes their general, Shonyo Yatsuomi. Yes, very American name. Oh, looks like one of our units is actually routing. The square formation really doesn't work that well in Fall of the Samurai. I'm not entirely sure if Fall of the Samurai even has a square formation, or if it's something that this mod just made up. But But yeah, the square formations aren't really that all that useful here in this mod, as they maybe should be. But their cavalry is slowly but surely getting the upper hand here. They have done some massive damage to us. Needless to say, their cavalry is very good, very good.
A unit is running from the battlefield, sir.
Yes, indeed, a unit is running from the battlefield. They have managed to rout a whole bunch of our infantry. A whole bunch of our infantry has been routed by them. So it's maybe time to activate our own cavalry then. And this is the legendary Prussian discipline, eh? You get a little bit of a rear attack and you immediately rout. Well, that's a little bit disappointing. It's a little disappointing. But finally, a bit of a worthwhile battle. I wasn't really expecting mass cavalry American units to be this strong, but apparently they are. But let's see how they fare against bullets. Let's see if they can actually win this battle. Maybe if they actually decided to siege the city, they would have had... Well, they definitely would have had a terrible chance at it, because the cavalry and sieges is just not worth anything. Unless you bait out your opponent and coming out of the castle. But it looks like we managed to crush the enemy cavalry. Fairly costly victory this is going to be sure. Because the enemy the enemy has routed a fair number of our colonial troops, colonial line infantry that is. They have managed to rout a fair number of them, but there we go. That was the last of the American cavalry, and so we managed to win this fight. Even though it was extremely costly, we lost a whole bunch of men doing that, but that's a victory secured, I'm pretty sure. Now all that's left is to mop up the colonial infantry, and this is going to be very basic, very easy. There we go. They are taking some terrible damage, both in terms of morale and in terms of their actual capability, and there we go. It should be a victory. There it is. Okay, so we lost about 3 entire units in that fight. Very unsurprising. We lost a lot of units. We lost 1009 and we killed a little over 1400, so very costly battle for us. But we can just replenish these numbers right away, and there's a second second American army with I can already see colonial saber cavalry is going to be the bee's knees when it comes to the Americans. But we can use the second army then to push forward against the city of Kozuke, and we can rendezvous all our units around the city of Kozuke. It's gonna be our main point of attack, from which we will envelop the entirety of the American holdings within Japan. We might even lose this army, to be honest. Maybe it would be worthwhile to have a tactical retreat here from danger, just to preserve our manpower, which isn't actually the worst decision, because another battle like that I think would actually hurt us quite a bit. So let's do a tactical retreat, and let's get some reinforcements going here in the city of Suruga, and let's continue on. We'll see how things develop, but as it looks like now, what it looks like now is that the enemy is trying to force us out with all of their might. They sent 2 armies against us, against a single one of ours, so they are definitely still very dangerous. And let's see, this battle should be a breeze. Yep, there we go. So the city of Kozuke is now ours. They have... what happened here? They didn't actually send any army. They didn't actually send an army against Kai. They didn't feel it was worth the effort, which is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. But we can now send this army back north to Kai since we reinforced it. Hopefully enough so that it would be able to withstand the brunt of this army, but we'll see how things go. And yeah, we can use the city of Kozuka as a rallying point for all of our incoming troops or of our incoming reinforcements to the fight against the Americans. It's going to be quite an offensive launched towards North Shinando and Hida and South Shinando. It's going to be the main thrust here and right into the center, and then we will just have a little bit of a mop-up operation. But I think that should be that for the Americans. After we capture North Shinando, South Shinando, and Hida, that's going to be that. That's going to be ultimate victory. Of course, we first have to also maybe hold, maybe not hold the city of Kai. We'll see. But we'll see. We'll see if the Americans actually go for an attack here. I believe they should. No, they sent their ship throughout the. They sent their ship around the entire island of Japan just to bombard some provinces there on the very edge of the Japanese Isles, which, you know, that's certainly a strategy. And let me just click through all these events. And no, they didn't actually move against the city of Kai. Very interesting. So we can now reinforce it, and that'll be that. That'll be that. So defense is resecured. This army is absolutely a single unit of colonial saber cavalry remains from that entire army that was just putting us through so much trouble. And we can now reinforce this miss, so we have 2 big armies ready to attack, and it should be 3 armies here pretty soon. Yeah, 2.5 armies, and here comes the 3rd army. So we have 3.5 armies ready to march against the Americans. I think that's enough. But here we go, it's time to take North Shinando. And this should be a breeze. Yep, clear victory, peacefully occupy, repair the settlement, and let's now push. Actually, this army could march over here and just maybe support this army in its attack, but we need to be in range for that, and we aren't. So let's just continue pushing forward so we eventually get to South Shinando, and then we can go to Hide. And we have a clear center of operations against anyone that would want to dislodge us from central Japan. This is our break into central Japan from the east or the northeast, however you want to see it. We still have the city of Nagaoka over here, and I wonder if we'll ever get to them. Probably after we clean up the Americans, we'll get to these small clans dotted around the place, like Kakegawa and Okazaki. But first we must deal with the Americans. Okay, the enemy sallies forward and wants a fight. Again, they have a whole bunch of cavalry, so this is going to be very interesting. Okay, it looks like the AI picked one of the worst weather conditions they could have. But, you know, whatever. Let's just deploy bamboo walls all around. So we have some, even if mediocre protection. But I don't see any bamboo wall. Oh, here we go. There's one. There's one bamboo wall. So can't deploy anymore, unfortunately. But anyway, we defend today, and let's wait for the enemy's inevitable attack to come. All right, here they come. These are all colonial saber cavalry, so we should start forming squares right away. Just to make it clear that actually let's toggle guard mode for everyone, but let's start forming squares just in case. just to be sure that the enemy knows we mean business, and so that the squares can be deployed before. Actually, I should have deployed spikes. I completely forgot about that mechanic. But on this flank, let's also start forming squares, because, well, we probably need it because of the flanking attack that's coming our way. Yep, there we go. We crushed one unit, well, almost half of it is gone. Let's see how the rest of the attack goes. And it's a massacre for the Americans. Obviously, they're charging straight on into a bunch of square formations, but it's also pretty damaging to us. Honestly, we do have a numerical advantage here, but that's not gonna matter too much if they massacre all of us. So hopefully whatever we're... Okay, we killed the enemy general. Very wonderful. This flank has seen off the attack of the cavalry, and this flank has also seen off the attack of the cavalry. Very nice. So in both cases we have won against the cavalry attack. All that's left is their general unit, and we can probably crush that relatively easy. Oh, here we go. There's some colonial saber cavalry. Completely forgot and missed that. So they still had one cavalry unit left, going after our general. Very sad, but we should be able to see it off relatively quickly. We killed the general. Very good. And now all that's left is the line battle, and since they have, well, they do have colonial infantry, so it is in fact a fair fight, but we have just so much of a numerical superiority here that their line infantry isn't going to stand too much of a chance. It's interesting that this time their little cavalry charge just didn't work, whereas in the previous battle it did some major damage. I'm not entirely sure like why that is, why last time it worked so much better than this time, but anyway, it is a victory. Okay, so we lost about 537. They lost a little over 1,200, but we managed to... Let's promote this guy. Let's get a general unit there, so that they can replenish even when in territory that isn't really replenish friendly, or they can replenish in friendly territory more rather, without the need to be in a city. Let's click away all these pointless events, and this general can... Oh yeah, he can't. Okay, so let's do something like this. There we go. Now the general can be inside the army, and we can finish off these fellas over here. Last 2 units of cavalry dealt with, and the garrison here can deal with the last unit over here. There we go. Great victory. We have mopped up a big enemy presence. Now all that's left is to fight another battle here against some colonial infantry, but I suspect we'll be able to auto-resolve. Don't even need to, they retreated themselves. And so the path to... Could we actually do this? Oh, no, you know what, let's retreat. That's too much. That's too much of a dangerous situation. But once we crush this army, the path to south Shinando will lay open. I just realized I've been calling it Shinando when in fact it's Shinano. But hopefully no Japanese viewer caught that, and hopefully nobody's ears have been butchered too much. But anyway, we can now move on and deal with these final remnants of their army. That was yeah, let's get a bunch of generals going. And now we have South Shinano, the path to South Shinano open. Very nice, very nice. And yeah, these armies that have been around Kai can now start moving towards this flank as well. We have a big consolidated assault against the enemy forces. That's gonna be just fine. It's gonna be just fine. Fencing camps, stables. Let's get some basic industry going so we increase the industrial output of our little colonial holding over here. And let's go towards South Shinano and crush the little army that the enemy has stationed over there. There we go. Noblemen revolt. These revolt pop-ups are getting so annoying. It's not like there are any actual revolts to be taken care of. Now we can just merge all of these armies together. There we go. And let me collect the right army and we can auto-resolve this fight. We lost the cavalry. Oh well. We'll just have to replenish them. Repair them, replenish them, whatever. Recruit some new ones. But I think that's actually the bulk of the American army now taken care of. All they have left is Owari, Mino, and Hida, and we should be able to take care of that relatively quickly. Right. Thanks, Kings, for watching, and I'll see you next time.